Spring swings. We're going to be getting close to 100 and then tracking a chance for snow in the higher elevations. I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods. All right, let's get to it. Track all these changing weather conditions. We have a weather impact alert in play Friday and Saturday, so that's going to be the timing of that. The impacts being the early season heat with outdoor activities impacted, as well as looking before we lock in those cars. Be heat ready heading into the beginning of our weekend, but then we're going to swing things back in the other direction before too long. Now, the last time we had a 90-degree day, we have to go all the way back to last year, October 8th. So it's been 200 plus days since we've been in the 90s. And actually, on that day, we were just shy of 100. Sacramento executive hitting 99 degrees. Ever since then, we've been in the 80s and much cooler than that. We're going to have these weather playlists and extended forecasts on ABC 10 Plus going as we deal with some of this early season heat. Check it out wherever you stream for free on TV. You can download that app. We've got weather explainers as well as weather and climate specials right there on ABC 10 Plus. Kind of playing out our May. It's been unseasonably warm already. We've had several days where we've been above average. Of course, for May 8th, we hit that high at 87 degrees as well as on the 6th. But we had that nice Delta breeze come in on the 7th, and that dropped our highs to the 70s. That's just how much of a factor that Delta breeze can play. Our top 5 warmest highs so far this year have been in the 80s. As you can see, we're just shy of reaching that 90-degree mark, but we've been hitting 80s since April. And even March, we had that quick pulse of warm air come in at the end of March, hitting that high of 84. But now we're right back at it. So early season heat, dealing with temperatures that are going to be about 15 degrees above average, putting us in a heat risk zone for Friday and Saturday. Our average first days were pretty close to that mark of our first 90-degree day being May 8th, and it looks like we'll be right on target there with right around May 9th hitting that 90-degree plus high. And in fact, we may actually get to that 95-degree high as well. Many places throughout the Central Valley will be even approaching near 100-degree heat by the time we get to our Friday, May 9th forecast. So the first 100-degree day, usually not until June 11th. That's not to say that we won't hit that 100-degree temperature, but that's when we typically do so. Our Friday forecast calling for widespread heat risk in the moderate zone. That's going to affect most people who are sensitive to the heat, especially those without adequate air conditioning or even hydration as well. That will start to shrink a little bit on our Saturday forecast. And also, it's worth noting here, too, highs in the 90s. By the time we get to June and July, we wouldn't see this heat risk in play. But for right now, it takes our bodies a little bit of time to adjust to it. And just as we're starting to adjust, we're going to turn things back in the other direction. Our average monthly high temperature, though, is on the way up. As you can see in April at 72 degrees. By May, we're talking 80. And then by June, it's in the upper 80s. July and August, we're in the 90s. And that's why that heat risk not so much in play at that point for highs in the 90s. Near record heat, though, our Friday forecast high in the 90s and our record at 94. And I'm actually going to bump that up. So we're going to be awfully close to tying that record high on Friday. Heat safety reminders. Look before you lock. Mentioned that a moment ago. Just check on kids, pets, elderly. Make sure everybody is out of that car before we turn around and lock the car up. Shade and hydrate. Take breaks every half hour. Sunscreen and activities where that SPF, that UV index is going to be quite high the next couple of days. And plan for morning activities if you can. Let's say you have some outdoor plans with mom or grandma or that significant person in your life on Saturday for Mother's Day weekend. Might want to do that early in the morning. Inside the car, it doesn't take long. We have temperatures within 10-20 minutes that are exceeding 100, almost 120 degrees. And by 60 minutes, we're over 130 degrees inside the car. Our snowpack is also melting quite quickly here and at an accelerated pace. With these temperatures, we're going to see that snowpack melting. And the reason I point this out is because what is up top comes down. It feeds our waterways and it's all snow melt fed water at this point. So those river temperatures are very cold for many locations. Some areas are a little bit more shallow or farther away from the snow melt, and they'll warm quicker. But for the Sacramento River, we're at about 64 degrees right now. The American below Folsom, where they're actually releasing some water, is at 52, and we're pretty close to that for Tuolumne near LaGrange. San Joaquin, Stockton, a little bit farther from the snow melt, and some of those tributaries are a little bit more shallow, so they'll warm up quicker. Close to 70 degrees. Sierra and foothill waters, let's say you're doing some hiking, just be aware, one little slip or you think of cooling off in the water, it is going to be cold. And Lake Tahoe water temperatures are in the 40s and lower 50s. So what does this actually mean? Cold water impacts. Below 70 degrees, breathing is affected, but it becomes difficult to breathe when temperatures in the water are between 60 and 70 degrees. Begin to lose control of our muscles as well as our breathing within about 50 to 60 degrees. And you can see that's about the threshold that many of our waterways are at right now, right in this area right here. So it's going to be difficult to breathe, and it's difficult for first responders as well, who have to go in to try to get people. Cold water fact, roughly 20% of people who fall in cold water die in the first minute of submersion due to that cold water shock. There's a lot of hidden dangers as well below the waters. There's a lot of tree branches that are floating around, as well as tree trunks that are coming down the hill. And even those rocks are kind of hidden. So one little sweep down the water, and if you're, let's say, a piece of clothing or maybe your foot gets stuck on one of those rocks, it makes it very difficult to get yourself loose again. Our water precautions: near water, wear a life vest. This is one sure way for somebody to get to you quickly, and for you to just stay above the water for a little bit longer period of time. Keep a close eye on children. Avoid alcohol. Cold water impacts with breathing. We talked about that. Strong currents, tough rescues, and it is flowing fast, high, and cold right now. Our major reservoir supply levels are looking ever so healthy. Again, we've been tracking this all season long, and it's been really good news here. As far as capacity, we're at about 95 to almost 100% capacity for many of our major reservoirs, and we're well above average. That plays out as well through the Central Valley, with our reservoirs holding at about 80 to 85, almost 90% of capacity, and again, above average for many of those reservoirs, just coming off of a couple of pretty good water years. So you can see how we build that water year. 50% of our annual precipitation in the rear view mirror here. Our snowpack, we're into that peak snow melt right now, almost on the tail end of that. That's when our water is at its highest demand. So the reservoirs will actually start to lower here by the time we get to the beginning and end of June. We'll start to see kind of the other trend of that water being drained out as our water is at its highest demand. So those reservoirs are pretty low in September when we have some of our highest heat, and then we'll start the cycle all over again. That is California's water year. It begins October 1st and it ends September 30th. Mother's Day weekend. Okay, so we've got the idea of how water is played out, the heat and everything, and we get a touch of that heat on Saturday. Mother's Day, though, look at that drop. We're down to 78 degrees with a few clouds coming in. We've been watching as this heat trend has been building. It peaks on Friday into Saturday, and then it just absolutely drops off into our Monday. We get a big blast of cold air, and I'm actually tracking the chance for showers in that forecast, plus the chance of some snow flurries coming through. So we get through that peak heat here on Friday and Saturday. Temperatures about 15 degrees above average, and then we drop things off to almost near average on Sunday. Really dropping off, though, on Monday. We're over 10 degrees below where we normally are this time of year. It's a cool little trend here we have at the beginning of the week, and then we're going to be right back to near average temperatures. It's all because of this building low pressure system in the Pacific. As you can see, our high pressure ridge responsible for the much warmer weather will be moving off to the east, and replacing it is going to be this low. Here comes the band of rain for our Monday. It's still a hit or miss whether we'll get the big widespread rain event, but we're just keeping an eye on it. Be aware that's the big change coming for the beginning of the work week. Now here's that band of snow coming in by Monday night into Tuesday morning. We'll be watching totals and snow level. Right now it looks like that snow level could be down as low as about 5,500 to 6,000 feet. So far for the water year, it's been a fairly dry one for us. It hasn't really produced much in the way of wet weather, but we'll be tracking the potential for some showers because we could average about 7,500ths of an inch of rain in May. It drops off in June, and again, when water is at its highest demand is because we don't get anything coming in from Mother Nature. We basically get about 4/100ths of an inch in July and August, and that's about it. The last rainy day last year was May 4th. So again, we're kind of at that window where we see our first 90+ degree temperature, but also our last rainy day. And it really plays out pretty much standard throughout there. The last rainy day in 2022 was June 5th, but you can see just the year prior was March 18th. So May is generally right about the time we stop really pulling in measurable precipitation. Statewide precipitation so far, again, the water year beginning October 1st of last year, running through September 30th of this year. Pretty much the line of demarcation has been I-80. Everything south of that has been fairly dry. North of that, pretty wet with well above average numbers. The good news on that is our biggest reservoirs are in the northern part of the state, kind of holding that big tank of water for us. Our 8 to 14 day climate outlook, once we get into the middle of May, we actually trend right back to that likely warmer and drier scenario as the likely wetter and cooler setup heads off to the east. Highs for our Friday forecast are in the 70s with near 90-degree heat even into the foothills. Now along the coast, it's a little bit more moderate with temperatures in the 70s, but it doesn't take long. You travel right along I-80. You get into the 90s for Fairfield and Vacaville, even wine country Napa, 88 degrees. The Delta for Antioch and Rio Vista deep into the 90s. And here's where I was talking about some of those places kind of flirting with those upper 90s, almost 100, including Colusa, Patterson, and Turlock. Manteca, we're even at 96 degrees as well as Lodi. So we're very, very close to hitting those upper 90s to near 100-degree heat. And right as soon as we get through that, we're back to the cooler temperatures and tracking the showers. Even a few snow flurries up there for the high country. As you can see, even the foothills getting in on that chance of precipitation, as well as the coast on Monday, that slight chance of showers coming through. It really won't last long with the colder blast of air. Our 3-day forecast, we've got our weather impact alert on Friday and Saturday, and then we're going to drop those temperatures for Mother's Day. There's that chance of showers coming in on Monday. Right back to the near average highs, though, by the middle and end of next week. The following weekend, we're back near 90.